cross-border terror, the kind of terror haven that Pakistan has become, all of that needs to end. Pakistan needs to act against terror groups and terrorists that flourish on their soil. Is this going to help India's case? Because India has tried time and again on multiple global fora to try and bring all of these terror groups to bring them to book here in India, but Pakistan has always denied that. Now that we have US on our side, do you think that's going to help?
Well, certainly it is going to help. And as General Shivaj has very correctly pointed out, it will also help us to unravel and bring into the public domain the link between Tahawwur Rana and the ISI. You know, the Pakistan army, along with its intelligence wing, the ISI, comprise the deep state of Pakistan. And the policy of the deep state of Pakistan is to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. They want to inflict terrorist attacks on us. They can't take India head on because they will get badly thrashed as they did in earlier wars. But they have resorted to covert warfare through terrorist outfits. But these terrorist attacks are all masterminded by the ISI. So as General Shivaj said, it will help us to bring into the public domain the connection between Tahawwur Rana and the ISI, and we will be able to pursue this case that we have been pursuing for such a long time in a very effective manner by pointing out how the Pakistan Army and its intelligence wing, the ISI, were directly involved in the Mumbai terror attack, and this will help us to expose the true colors of Pakistan. You know, Pakistan has been able to get away with all kinds of ruses, although everybody knows that Pakistan is a state sponsor of terrorism. But if evidence comes out through the interrogation of Tahawwur Rana, then the case against Pakistan will become more watertight, and pressure could be mounted on Pakistan through other countries also, including, of course, the United States, which, as you mentioned in the joint statement along with us, has singled out Pakistan for its cross-border terrorist attacks.
And what would come out of the interrogation of Tahawwur Rana perhaps is unnerving Pakistan, which is why we're seeing the kind of reaction that has come to the fore from the government in Pakistan. I request you both gentlemen to stay on with us because I want our viewers to listen in to this victim card and how Pakistan has been a victim of terror. That sort of narrative is being spun again by Islamabad. Let's listen in.
We consider the Pakistan-specific reference in the Indo-US joint statement of 13 February 2025 as one-sided, misleading, and contrary to diplomatic norms. We are surprised that the reference has been added to the joint statement, notwithstanding Pakistan's counter-terrorism cooperation with the United States. Such references cannot cover up India's sponsorship of terrorism, subversion, and extrajudicial assassinations in the region and beyond, nor can they shift international attention from stark reality of India being a safe haven for the perpetrators of hate crimes against Muslims and other minorities. The joint statement fails to address non-compliance of India with UN Security Council resolutions, which is the key source of tension and instability in the region, and to take cognizance of the grim human rights situation in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
Major Shivaj, do you think this is on expected lines, the kind of response that has come to the fore from Pakistan, always playing the victim card, blaming India for all that's wrong in their country?
Absolutely. See, one has to tell Pakistan that they were put in a grey list by Financial Action Task Force. India had no role in that. Basically, Pakistan is the hub center of terrorism. You know, if out of 100 terrorists, and the top in the world, 80 terrorists are those which either belong to Pakistan or they have roots in Pakistan. So Pakistan is basically sponsoring terrorism, and the ISI is the one which is nurturing that. And remember that the Hillary Clinton, when she came in 2013, she said that if you have snakes in your courtyard and you think if they will only bite your neighbor, one day they will bite you. So today that same terror in the form of Taliban Pakistan is biting them. But the Pakistan is not ready to understand. They keep on differentiating with good and bad terrorists. They send Lashkar-e-Toba Jaise movement to India. They call them a good terrorist. And the one which is biting them, they call them a bad terrorist, Taliban Pakistan. So the point is, Pakistan is not going to bend its way. Pakistan is a hub center of terrorism, the whole world knows. And by this Tahawwur Rana, once he's extradited, we will completely expose the complete nexus between ISI and the terrorist group which are operating in India. So this will now able to expose Pakistan completely. And Pakistan is feeling rattled. But the point is that Pakistan policy of bleeding with 1,000 cuts is still going on. There are about 2,000 to 3,000 Lashkar-e-Toba and Jaise-e-Mohammed terrorists sitting in the launch pad. They want it to be pushed in India. So the point today is that Pakistan has to be exposed. And now, once the Donald Trump has come in US, he has also the same stand. What is India is there? There is going to be a cooperation against terrorism by India and US, and that is which is going to be rattling Pakistan. Remember, in the last time when Donald Trump was there, he has very categorically said that the $400 million, the aid which was being given by US to Pakistan was going to Taliban, which was fighting against US troops in Afghanistan. So the point today is Pakistan is a hub center of terrorism. Pakistan is involved in all terrorist activities which are taking place in this region, especially in India. And ISI is a notorious terrorist organization. One will now completely show it. And in this 4 years is going to be a golden period where Pakistan will be completely going to be exposed to the world that yes, it is the Pakistan which is sponsoring terrorism in India. And whatever has happened in 26/11, in 2008, it was direct involvement of Pakistan ISI. It was Major Iqbal was sitting in Karachi and basically monitoring this operation. And Tahawwur Rana was a facilitator between the terrorists and their masters operating in Pakistan. Una.
And that's something that he could come out and spill the beans on once he is in India's custody and he is interrogated by the anti-terror agency, which is the NIA here. But Ambassador Dayal, I want to ask you this. Pakistan, of course, is one aspect of it. But India has also been dealing with pro-Khalistani sympathizers, Khalistani elements that have been sitting on foreign soil like Canada and the United States and fomenting trouble here in India, involved in crimes as well. Do you think that's the next step that could be taken as far as India and United States go, that we could be seeking extradition of some of these Khalistani elements as well from the United States?
Well, I don't know what really has been discussed, but certainly it will be a very welcome step if some of the Khalistani extremists, who incidentally are fully backed by the ISI, if these people could also be extradited to India. Now, I listened to the statement of the Pakistan Deputy Prime Minister, and I was reminded of that old saying, you can't fool all the people for all the time. Pakistan has been getting away with murder. Pakistan is out and out a terrorist state, and it sponsors terrorism across our borders through non-state actors. There is the direct involvement of the Pakistan Army and the ISI. And now Pakistan is trying to say that it is India which is harboring terrorists, so it's a clear case of pot calling the kettle black. And Pakistan is extremely shameless when it does so, because the whole world now realizes what the reality of Pakistan is. You know, some of the old friends of Pakistan, like the Gulf countries, are turning away from this country because they realize that it is only a source of nuisance and Pakistani terrorism stands exposed. So in the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, I think a very important takeaway is the extradition of Tahawwur Rana, because it will unravel the full hand of the ISI in the Mumbai terror attacks.
Absolutely, and this underscores the commitment that both countries have as far as fighting terror goes, as far as ending all sorts of conflict goes as well. I have to leave it there. I thank you both gentlemen for joining us here on this edition and sharing your perspective. In fact, CNN News 18 spoke with the Special Public Prosecutor of the 26/11 attack case, listening to why he thinks this is a strong signal, not just to Pakistan, but to the other countries that are fomenting trouble around the world as well.
What is your first reaction to this decision that has been taken by the United States?
Indeed, it's a great success for India for two reasons. Firstly, before US administration takes the decision on the extradition of Tahawwur Rana, US President on his own sumoto had declared that Tahawwur Rana will be extradited.
Okay.
This is a great statement made by the US President, and it gives a strong signal across the globe that US land will not be heaven for those persons who wants to indulge in terrorist activities on the soil of India by staying in US. So this will have a long-reaching impact also, because we have the certain criminal fugitive who have ran away after committing serious financial crimes from India and they are staying abroad. So it is for the entire globe to take a call as to how these proceedings can be expedited. Number one.
Okay.
Number two is important thing is that Tahawwur Rana is a big catch for India, because I have conducted the terror attack of 26 November at Mumbai. I have examined David Coleman Headley in Mumbai court. David Headley has given sensitive revelation in Mumbai court showing the nexus between Lashkar-e-Toiba and some of the army Pakistan officials. Now, the links, that is not the only oral testimony of David Headley, but David Headley had adduced the email correspondence which was exchanged
Okay.
between the Lashkar operatives as well as some of the top army officials. Now, he has produced the correspondence not in Mumbai, but he has produced that evidence in Chicago court. I had been to Chicago for examining the entire evidence which was adduced by David Headley in Chicago court. Number three is that Tahawwur Rana has allowed David Coleman Headley to open his immigration office in Mumbai. Accordingly, David Headley had visited Mumbai before the terror attack, took the photographs of the targeted places of 26 November and parted with the Lashkar-e-Toiba. Now, this Tahawwur Rana is involved in the deep-rooted criminal conspiracy more than the 26 November, because it is revealed that Tahawwur Rana had also visited Delhi, Pune also, along with the David Coleman Headley. So they had other plans also. So it will come out only after Tahawwur Rana will be brought to India.
Big development there after President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi met at the White House. During that bilateral, the extradition of Tahawwur Rana is going to expose Pakistan even further, and that's something that India is banking on to ensure that the perpetrator behind 2611 is brought to book and the larger nexus is also exposed before the world. On that note, slipping into a quick break on this edition of Nation at 5, but we'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
यहाँ ऑर्डिनरी प्लान We got the actual order, not the warning, so we're probably gonna head out pretty soon. So we are getting a little concerned. We thought we kind of like ride it out. We moved our cars out of the way, but I think looking at how much more the water is kind of changing color, and we're probably gonna head out.
We're trying to do our own personal assessment of risk and not get caught up in the hype train, but also not be, casual about it either.
We got the actual order, not the warning, so we're probably gonna head out pretty soon. So we are getting a little concerned. We thought we kind of like ride it out. We moved our cars out of the way.
Thank you for staying with us here on Nation at 5. President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi discussed a range of issues during that big bilateral meeting that was held at the White House overnight, Indian Standard Time last night. The big takeaway from that meeting was, of course, the cooperation in the defense sector. Remember, President Trump had suggested that he wishes India buys more American-made weapons. That's something that was discussed by the two leaders in those delegation-level talks that were held in Washington. Several decisions have been taken, but procurement of at least 3 of these American-made weapons and armaments is something that has been confirmed by the Indian side. the Javelin anti-tank guided missiles, Striker infantry combat vehicles and the recon aircraft for the Navy, which is the P-8I Poseidon. That's something that India is going to be procuring from the United States. In fact, US President Donald Trump also went on to say that the 5th generation F-35 stealth fighter jet could also soon make its way into India's armed forces arsenal.
डिफेंस प्रिपेयर्डनेस में अमेरिका की महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है। स्ट्रैटेजिक और ट्रस्टेड पार्टनर के नाते हम जॉइंट डेवलपमेंट, जॉइंट प्रोडक्शन और ट्रांसफर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी की दिशा में सक्रिय रूप से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। आने वाले समय में भी नई टेक्नोलॉजी और इक्विपमेंट हमारी क्षमता बढ़ाएंगे। हमने ऑटोनोमस सिस्टम्स इंडस्ट्री अलायंस लॉन्च करने का निर्णय लिया है। अगले दशक के लिए डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन फ्रेमवर्क बनाया जाएगा। डिफेंस इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी, लॉजिस्टिक्स, रिपेयर और मेंटेनेंस भी इसके मुख्य भाग होंगे।
Starting this year, we'll be increasing military sales to India by many billions of dollars. We're also paving the way to ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighters. In 2017, my administration revived and reinvigorated the Quad security partnership. In our meeting today, the Prime Minister and I reaffirmed that strong cooperation among the United States, India, Australia, and Japan. And it's crucial, really, to maintaining peace and prosperity, tranquility, even in the Indo-Pacific. In addition, the United States and India will be working together like never before to confront the threat of radical Islamic terrorism, a threat all over the world, actually.
Process that the United States will begin, whereby it will review its arms transfer regulations, including the international traffic in arms regulations, in order to streamline defense trade, technology exchange, and maintenance, spare supplies, and in-country repair and overhaul of US-provided defense systems. The two countries have also launched the Autonomous Systems Industry Alliance to scale industry partnerships and production of autonomous systems, which will foster next-generation defense and technological collaboration, specifically in the field of underwater domain awareness.
The much-awaited meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump concluded just a few hours ago. This was a meeting that the entire world was waiting for, and as far as takeaways are concerned, so these takeaways are being discussed widely on social media now. Both the leaders addressed a joint press conference, and now we have a joint statement after this particular meeting. As far as defense sector is concerned, so both the leaders have committed cooperation in the sector for the next 10 years. There are a number of defense-related platforms and equipments that India is using from United States, and now there is an active discussion on a number of other platforms and equipments. In fact, US President Donald Trump said that US is going to sell F-35 5th generation aircraft to India. It is important at a time when Indian Defense Ministry has categorically said that options are open for any sort of acquisition as far as 5th generation aircraft is concerned. India has been working on its own indigenous 5th generation fighter jet, that is AMCA, but the prototype production and the real production is far away from reality as of now. India needs a 5th generation aircraft and whether or not it is going for F-35 is not yet clear. The joint statement, of course, did not mention about F-35, but the fact that United States President Donald Trump mentioned about F-35 say a lot about the potential deal that can happen in the coming years.
US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi's bilateral meeting came just a few hours after Donald Trump announced that reciprocal tariffs will be levied on those countries that he believes is cutting America short. India is at the top of the pack is what Donald Trump went out and announced, which is why trade was going to be one of the dominant subjects that was discussed by the two leaders during that bilateral meeting. Both sides have decided that a boost for trade ties is going to be in the offing. In fact, Prime Minister Modi said that bilateral trade between the two countries is going to be doubled by 2030 and would reach $500 billion. In fact, Prime Minister Modi took a leaf from Donald Trump's book. He used his Make America Great Again slogan, equated it to making both countries prosperous. He spoke about the Viksit Bharat plan of India, calling it the Make India Great Again plan. And if you put together, then both countries could chart a way forward for each other and with greater cooperation in trade.
आज हमने द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को 2030 तक 2 गुना से भी अधिक बढ़ाकर $500 बिलियन तक पहुंचाने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है। हमारी टीमें एक पारस्परिक लाभकारी ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट को शीघ्र संपन्न करने पर काम करेगी। मागा प्लस मीगा तब बन जाता है मेगा पार्टनरशिप फॉर प्रॉस्पेरिटी।
And on trade, I have decided for purposes of fairness that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them, no more, no less. In other words, they charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them the exact same tax. India traditionally is the highest, just about the highest tariffed country. They charge more tariffs than any other country. And I mean, we'll be talking about that, but again, whatever they charge us, we're charging them. So it works out very well. It's a beautiful, simple system.
In the area of trade and investment, for instance, the leaders launched Mission 500, aiming to more than double total two-way trade to $500 billion by 2030. The two leaders also announced plans to negotiate the first tranche of a mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trade agreement by the fall of 2025 towards advancing this process, and this issue did figure in some detail in the discussions as well. Both countries will take an integrated approach to strengthen bilateral trade across the goods and services sector. This will include themes such as increasing market access, reducing tariff and non-tariff barriers, and deepening supply chain integration between the two countries.
Donald Trump welcomed Prime Minister Modi to the White House, saying that he's a good friend of the United States and US and India are great friends, and that friendship is going to continue. At the same time, there were tense conversations on tariffs that both nations had. And Donald Trump said that US is now going to impose reciprocal tariffs on India because it charges such high tariffs and it has been unfairly treating US companies. He spoke about how in the past Harley-Davidson motorcycles have not been able to sell in India in high volumes because of high duties, and how electric car makers have not been able to import and sell cars into India because of 70% duties. So he expected that India make all those changes immediately. Clearly, defense and energy will be areas where US will now buy more to reduce the trade deficit. Donald Trump said that US can be India's #1 energy supplier. And in the months to come, we could see long-term LNG and crude oil contracts being signed between Indian companies and US entities. On the defense side, Donald Trump said that US will begin sales of billions and billions of dollars worth of military equipment to India, and this includes paving the way for F-35s as well. India also raised the concern of market access that Indian companies are facing in the United States, and he also spoke about overcapacity in China and how that's leading to dumping in India and the United States as well. So on the whole, it was a strong working visit with a lot of outcomes. There are agreements that have been made on artificial intelligence, on civil nuclear energy, and on making and developing small modular reactors as well. So let's see how things pan out in the next few months. But definitely the roadmap for a trade deal was one of the big highlights.
Donald Trump has ordered his economics team to come up with a plan for reciprocal tariffs on every country that taxes US imports. Speaking in the Oval Office on Thursday, the US president said the move would be transformative for America.
And they say this is going to be the thing that makes our country really prosperous again. And this is going to be what pays down to $36 trillion in debt and all the other things. And this is going to be, this is an amazing day. I think this is going to be a very big day and in a very positive way for our country. Yes.
Trump has long promised to impose reciprocal tariffs, but Thursday's executive order stopped well short of that. Instead, it kicked off weeks or months of analysis before a plan is set. The goal is to match all tariffs imposed by other countries and to counteract non-tariff barriers such as regulations and subsidies that Washington objects to. Some countries and regions appeared to be on Trump's mind.
European Union has been absolutely brutal on trade. Canada has been very bad to us on trade, but now Canada is going to have to start paying up. They took the business away. Taiwan took our chip business away.
Having campaigned on a pledge to bring down consumer prices, Trump conceded that the tariff moves could actually see them go up, at least in the short term. FM Investments Chief Executive Alexander Morris says the president's tactics will have further unpredictable consequences.
At some point, the threat of a tariff and the forced negotiation will not end in the way that Donald Trump wants, where he will be forced to either to capitulate, which might change his ability to use that threat in the future, or actually follow through, some of which may have far unforeseen consequences and unexpected outcomes.
Now, investors, business leaders and world capitals are waiting to see if Trump will go through with the tariffs, or if they are more of a negotiating tactic. Since taking office, Trump has imposed an extra 10% duty on imports from China, but he put on hold new levies on goods coming from Canada and Mexico.
बात जब अपनी
We got the actual order, not the warning, so we're probably gonna head out pretty soon. So we are getting a little concerned. We thought we'd kind of like ride it out. We moved our cars out of the way, but I think looking at how much more the water is kind of changing color, and we're probably gonna head out.
We're trying to do our own personal assessment of risk and not get caught up in the hype train, but also not be, casual about it either.
We got the actual order, not the warning, so we're probably gonna head out pretty soon. So we are getting a little concerned. We thought we'd kind of like ride it out. We moved our cars out of the way, but I think looking at how much more the water is kind of changing color, and we're probably gonna head out.
We're trying to do our own personal assessment of risk and not get caught up in the hype train, but also not be, casual about it either.
Welcome back. You're tuned in to Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during his bilateral with US President Donald Trump, said that India is not on neutral side. In fact, it has picked a side of peace as far as the Russia-Ukraine conflict goes. This comes at a time when US President Donald Trump is trying to end all wars, end all conflict. He spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin about a negotiation plan that could be put in place to end the conflict, which is reaching about 3 years now. In fact, that plan that US President Donald Trump had suggested was somewhat acceptable to Ukrainian President Zelensky as well. Could India, though, play the role of a mediator? That's something that many believe President Donald Trump could be leaning on Prime Minister Modi for. The Prime Minister said that he has been in regular touch with both Russia and Ukraine, also appreciating the United States and President Trump's efforts to end this conflict.
रशिया और यूक्रेन दोनों से लगातार संपर्क में रहा हूं। मैं स्वयं भी दोनों देश की मुलाकात कर चुका हूं। बहुत से लोगों का एक भ्रम है कि भारत न्यूट्रल है। मैं साफ करना चाहता हूं, भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं है। हमारा अपना एक पक्ष है और हमारा पक्ष है शांति, पीस। और मैंने इसी एक हमारे सिद्धांत को लेकर के राष्ट्रपति पुतिन की हाजिरी में मीडिया के सामने स्पष्ट रूप से कहा था कि युद्ध का समय नहीं है। और आज भी मेरा कन्विक्शन है कि युद्ध के मैदान में समस्याओं के समाधान नहीं निकलते हैं, अल्टीमेटली वार्ता के टेबल पर ही होते हैं। और भारत का लगातार प्रयास रहा है कि दोनों लोग जिसमें मौजूद हो वैसे फोरम में बातचीत होगी, तब कोई रास्ता निकलेगा। राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप जो प्रयास कर रहे हैं, मैं उनका स्वागत करता हूं, समर्थन करता हूं और मैं चाहता हूं कि राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप हो सके उतना जल्दी सफल हो ताकि दुनिया में शांति के रास्ते खुले।
Donald Trump, ever since his campaign for the presidential election, has been saying that he wants to end all wars. He's been talking about the conflict in West Asia and the conflict in Ukraine as well. Now he's spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin, putting in place, or at least trying to put in place, a negotiation deal or a peace deal that has to be acceptable to both sides if that 3-year conflict has to end. But could India play a role? Could India be a mediator? CNN News 18's Zaka Jacob spoke with political scientist John Mersheimer on what is the possibility of this conflict actually ending. Listen in.
Prime Minister Modi enjoys good relations with both President Putin of Russia and President Zelensky of Ukraine. He's, in fact, one of the few world leaders who's visited both countries since this war began. Do you think President Trump might, weigh in on him, perhaps lean on his sort of counsel, if not mediation, to try and find a middle ground between Russia and Ukraine?
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. This is why I was saying that I think from India's point of view, this is good news, because the Trump administration will want to work with India. It will see India as an ally on this issue. And if Modi has good relations with Zelensky and with Putin, and he can talk to both of them and do something to help cajole the Ukrainians into accepting the peace settlement that the Americans want, that would be all for the good from America's point of view. I don't know that in the end Modi would be successful, or anybody would be successful at convincing the Ukrainians to go along with this deal. Excuse me, I think it's very hard to imagine Ukraine accepting the deal, but who knows?
Shifting our focus to news coming in from here back home. In the IT capital of the country, in Bengaluru, recent fare hikes at the Bengaluru Metro had triggered massive panic amongst consumers, among customers who've been taking the Bengaluru Metro on an everyday basis. About 45 to 50% hike was seen in fares across different sectors on the Bengaluru Metro. That has now prompted the state government to come out and clarify that they would be asking the BMRCL, which is the body that oversees the operations of the Bengaluru Metro, Metro to come out and calibrate and look at abnormal prices that could be changed. In fact, CNN News 18 spoke with the Managing Director of Bengaluru Metro Rail Corporation. Listen in to what he had to tell us.
I have a very straight question for you. We have seen the revision of fares that have happened, and it has gone all the way up to 50%. But would we see, are you reconsidering revising the fares at various stages, because you have also increased the pricing at various stages between kilometers of how commuters will be using it?
No, I would just like to mention that the Bengaluru Metro follows the Metro Rail Act, and accordingly there is a fare fixation committee which decides the fares. Now, the recommendations of the fare fixation committee typically take into consideration a lot of factors before they give a final view. So the metro is then bound to follow whatever are the limits fixed by the fare fixation committee. So at present, whatever has been given by them, which has already been published by us, is something which we are going to follow. However, what I could say is that in some cases where we found out certain discrepancies when we were implementing these fare recommendations, we have tried to make the necessary calibration to ensure that the people where there were some possibilities of jump etc. taking place, we tried to see if it could be corrected. This matter we took it up also and had a detailed discussion with everyone, all our stakeholders, and we hope that this will be something which will provide some relief to the passengers.
So you mentioned about a board, but is this decision of fare hike, is it done in the state or is it done in the center? That's what people need to understand and get, and they want clarity.
I would just like to mention that the metros have always been envisaged as an organization which works on good professional standing and does its work to meet the needs of the customer. So it's a joint venture, and it's has stake of both state and center, and the board generally takes a lot of decisions, and of course representatives will be there who will be discussing the matter in detail in the interest of the city and the consumer.
There's an increase of rate of pricing. 10 rupees is 20 rupees. We have seen up to 90 rupees. The long haul especially is full 90 rupees. Will there be a revision of these fares?
Let me say that, like I mentioned again, it is something which is been fixed by the fare fixation committee. So whatever has been